sport won't probably be as clean, as crisp, as great as prone feels, and try and move those pieces around. This may be easiest to do without skis. If you feel confident, you can do it with skis.
10 minutes! 10 more minutes!
Biathlon's a unique and relatively unknown sport in the U.S. It's Scandinavian in origin. It comes originally from military applications when they used to ski and carry guns to fight. Nowadays, it's a combination of skiing and target shooting with 22 rifles.
Biathlon is skiing and shooting put together. So you do come in from a ski loop, you shoot 5 shots, you take a penalty for whatever you've missed, you ski another loop, and then at the end of this series, you repeat a couple times depending on the race, and the fastest time wins.
And we ski anywhere from 7.5K to 15K total, and we have between two or 4 shooting stages with prone, lying down, or standing.
So biathlon is the most watched winter sport in all of Europe. Obviously, it loses to soccer, but the actual crowds that biathlon is pulling at its highest level competitions in person run as big as 100,000 people. But it's definitely, it's a different experience to go over there and race in a sport that is very beloved and very, very popular than it is to be here and continually explaining that it is not swimming and running. And that it is not a sport that you made up. It is actually a Winter Olympic sport and one of the older ones.
Because half the time it ends up coming off and I have to
Yes.
redo it anyway.
Yeah.
So do some people, after they get situated, then hook it up?
Some people do, and that's totally fine. If you practice it a while and you're like, it's not working for me, yeah, you can hook it when you hook down.
Okay.
But it does take a little bit of learning to get that pressure, hands up,
Yeah.
and pulling back with it.
My name is Joanne Reid. I debuted internationally probably January of 2016. I went to my first Olympic Games in February of 2018.
And here comes Joanne Reid from Team USA, just seconds away from the finish, giving everything she has.
So I graduated high school when I was 16. And I started at the University of Colorado on full scholarship when I was 17. So that left a pretty early timeline, basically, for me. I graduated at age 20. People who ski in college, they basically decide, do I quit now or do I go pro? There's not really another path there. You can't really casually do professional cross-country skiing. So I chose that I didn't want to do that. But I did want to try this crazy new thing that I'd heard of, which was not new at all. But I did want to try biathlon. I got into this sport by way of staying with 2 very ferocious biathlon fans at a U.S. Nationals for cross-country skiing. And every day after the skiing races, we would go and watch biathlon races, and I thought that was really, really cool. So I ended up with this rifle from my grandfather, and I had been slowly introduced to this sport from my friends, and I decided that I wanted to go try and do it. I was taught to shoot by professional coaches in U.S. Biathlon who, what they told me was, well, you've never shot before, but at least you have no bad habits. You don't have to unlearn anything. So I just started right from the ground up learning to shoot.
Yeah. So this is the firmness point that you're gonna want. That is the hand position that Ethan designed this thing for.
Okay. I feel pretty good about the clinic. This is actually the first one I've ever run solo in terms of shooting. So it was a little bit different of an experience for me to be in the leadership role of that.
Crazy workout on different levels of standing, but I want us to try and do a natural point of aim in standing as well.
So that was new, that was different, but I think it went very successfully.
Throw it this way, which people do. I don't know where the I was having a lot of trouble in standing 2 years ago, and my teammate was like, just count to 5 as you shoot your shots. She's like, start from the very beginning and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Try leaving the elbow and moving the hips back. It's a good drill to just like force yourself, even if it's not perfect. There you go. If you just kind of pulled a little bit at the end. I get a little excited. I'm like, oh, it's like I'm into it.
So my name is Anna French. I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I am a fourth-year PhD student studying freshwater ecology at Montana State University. I started actually during the pandemic. In 2020, in the summer, I kind of started picking up the rifle and shooting a little bit. I went to Vermont for their on-snow trials that the USBA holds in December, and I made my first international team that winter, so 2 winters ago, and competed in Slovakia and Slovenia, and then went to the Canmore IBU Cups as well that year. And then the following year, I actually qualified immediately out of the roller ski trials, and I did the first 6 IBU Cups and Open Euro Championships last winter.
Do you do your sight covers when you're skiing, or do you do that on the mat?
I do it on the mat because we're not really supposed to get preemptively ready.
You know, I'd never heard of something that was like, you know, a women's only biathlon clinic. And yeah, I wanted to be a part of it. I thought it was like a really cool opportunity to connect with people who are also, you know, women and kind of learning the sport, and be able to just kind of have just like a really fun event.
So yeah, I thought that was really good. Yeah, you're bolting super smooth. Thank you. And I could tell that you had really good rhythm in like your breathing, like it was very consistent.
There, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
We would have a thing right here that I would hit. Or back here. No, I think it would be right here.
You do have them then.
But not with this.
I'm Joan Wilder. I'm an occupational therapist and a former 2-time Olympian in the sport of biathlon. Neighbor down the street was from Norway. He got all the kids in the neighborhood skis. So one Christmas I got a pair of wooden skis behind the curtains, and you know, I'd just go shuffle off in the woods behind the house.
So you take up the whole space so that your tip this time was right here. Last time you were over a little bit, that little bit. So you
and learned how to ski. It wasn't until I got older that I saw biathlon and putting them together that I was like, oh, that's the way to go. And I always liked the sports, like triathlons, biathlons. We put a number of things together. It's just a little bit more interesting.
Victory. Haynes salutes this Olympic moment of the day. 2 years ago at the Albertville Olympics, American biathlete Joan Wilder finished 64th. But today, she finished 17th. All the more remarkable because just 11 months ago, she underwent heart surgery. Joan Wilder, Olympian.
Everyone's different biomechanically. And so that's why I like the videotaping, because you can like say, do all this, but until you see yourself in your own biomechanics and how you're positioning it.
I was really impressed with all the women from, you know, some are very experienced, some are trying it for the first time, different ages, different interests, but everybody there with compassion and support and doing something. I mean, what sport is, it's doing something that you love.
Different shift on the weight on your feet. So
Yes.
That's the key,
Yeah.
right? And so as you shift back just a little bit and you ground yourself down into the ground.
I'm Drew Hudon. I'm the Vice President of Colorado Biathlon Club. The Women's Festival was created to establish an environment where women could come and compete without having to worry about doing the work on the side, and to create an atmosphere that allowed them to establish connections, feel supported, and get in some great competition.
This clinic has become very important to me. It was cool to see like the little kids get really excited about putting on glitter and doing relays, and just kind of like reminded me what's fun about the sport, and kind of brought me back to sort of like that kind of childlike joy that I first felt when I, you know, started.
Yep. 2.5K, so you're doing the epic green 2.5K course. I'll get novice. Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Women are underrepresented in biathlon, and I think a lot of the races they show up to, they're way outnumbered by the men, and I think having these races that are for women only gives them an opportunity to have something that is theirs.
Good shooting. Poor Joanne.
What an experience for a beginner's master's biathlete to get to have an Olympian ski them in. And Joanne was just completely humble about the whole thing and just wanted this woman to have a great experience. She was struggling to finish, and Joanne had already finished, and Joanne went back out on the course to ski the last lap with her. There's a couple traits I admire most about Joanne. Every time I turn around, it's Joanne stepping in and going above and beyond to help somebody have a better experience here. And I think that's just such an amazing commentary on who Joanne is.
Just like the kindness and care and compassion she shows for people, people that she's, just meeting, and then people that she knows really well. Like, she just kind of has this very funny and optimistic and positive outlook. She's just like a very genuine person who I think I very truly aspire to be like her.
Where's Teresa?
I really respect and admire her courage to come forward with the U.S. biathlon stuff.
Her strength just as a person with what she's gone through to come out the way she has. And I don't think it's necessarily her comfort zone to do that. I think she's kind of introverted, but she thinks that's important to do. So she puts herself out there to help others.
And it's tough because it takes a lot of explaining about what a ski technician is. Both in the sport of cross-country skiing and in the sport of biathlon, and actually in a lot of winter sports, there are people whose job it is to take care of equipment. So in ours, we have something basically called a ski technician, and they take care of your skis and they prep them for race days, which is way more work than it sounds like, and it is a full-time job in itself. So my organization, U.S. Biathlon Association, historically actually had difficulties with a specific ski technician, and when I came in, I experienced some of those as well. And it was passed word of mouth from woman to woman that this was kind of an issue, and to avoid him if you could, and maybe employ a buddy system and that sort of thing. I made a social media post at some point and from there, I had a lot of communications with people, but I think the most important one of those, the thing that most people know, is I ended up talking to the Associated Press, an investigator of the Associated Press, and she wrote an article about it. So I did come forward and file a safe sport complaint, which is the new kind of watchdog organization. In some ways, it does very well at protecting athletes, and in some ways, it has a ways to go. The idea behind it is that you and whoever you may be accusing, or the other way around, however it may be, have a neutral party to do all these interviews and determine whether there was wrongdoing or whether there wasn't. And at the end, they give you a very, very long paper that is their verdict. So I got a very, very long paper at the end of this. It was something like 250 pages or something of all the interviews. And a verdict, and it was a 6-month suspension. And And that was it. It was 2 years of this process. That felt very anticlimactic to me. The organization didn't say anything. The administration didn't say anything. There was just nothing. There was no, maybe we can work on doing this better, or maybe we'll look into do we have something else going on, like the fact that this has been going on so long. Maybe we should, kind of investigate and see if there are other issues. There was just nothing. The Associated Press article dropped, and then again, there was silence from the Federation. The implication is that they do not care. That they do not care that it happened, and or they don't care that it might happen again. And until there is accountability, then I do have that rage against the administration and the organization, because if you're not taking accountability for a problem, then does that make it my fault then that it happened? Was it a singular incident? And if it was a singular incident, what kind of environment were you creating? We needed to complain more, we needed to write in more, we needed to get rid of the response, whatever that may be, more needed to be done. And that's part of how this clinic was born.
In regards to abuse while I was on the U.S. Biathlon team, it's funny, I've talked about it a lot. I think maybe it's just this event. It's a lot, and it's a lot to keep pushing yourself through it and be like, I've got this, I got to share my story. In 1989, I was on Team 89 to 94, so that's when all these events happened. And it was exciting to be part of the national team. I certainly had big dreams and big ideas, and was in great shape at that time in my life. But it was at a camp, and I had gone to bed and woke up with him on my back, and I did what I needed to do to get him out, and I wasn't sure how he got into the room. I later learned that at a breakfast or at a meal with other athletes later, he boasted about how he got the key from behind the front desk when they weren't looking. And at that point, I was like, it's breaking and entering, it's sexual assault. I should report this. I shared it with staff with Biathlon, who at that point who minimized it and said, it took us years to get the visa. This is too important. And I was new, and that's kind of where it stayed. Could I have done more? Yes. And people say, don't beat yourself up. You were young, you didn't have money, you were in a national team, they were supposed to be looking out for you. That's what the therapist will tell me, but it's okay. I could have done more. I could have gone to the police department. I could have picked up the phone and 911 said, hey, I was just sexually assaulted. So that's real. And had I done that, then these things wouldn't continue. hopefully, or at least there would have been more eyes on it. There would have been more talk about it. There would have been more effort to make sure it didn't happen again. And I didn't do that. And I'm okay with saying that I didn't, and I'm vulnerable for that. And I want to apologize to the women who this did happen in the future. When I first heard about Joanne's experience, was a friend of mine had forwarded the article, and I'll be quite honest, I read it over a number of days. I'd pick it up and read it. I sat down and pick it up and read it. It took me a long time to get through it because it was so similar. I've had to do my internal, obviously, some internal looking as to, wow, this is still with me. I still have these here. And I think in a good way. I think it is, I didn't realize I still had more to work through. And you push through every day wanting to be stronger. And you can see it, there's vulnerabilities there. But you want to wake up the next day stronger. We all need to be vulnerable. We all need to say, this has got to stop. We all need, every single person from your youth to your master skier, to your recreation, everyone needs to participate in these sports knowing that it's safe and that they're valued. And that's why I'm doing this. And so, as a person, I feel like I'm strong. I feel like I've made mistakes. I'm coming forward now. I'll work with people. I'll probably end up in court, who knows? But we can change this.
I think my reaction when I first found out about what happened to Joanne was that we had to do something, and I kind of looked around like what tools do I have available to do something to help and to send a message, and that was really where we landed on the festival. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go over with the club, and I actually called Brent, who's the president, and I had a whole spiel lined up, and I was ready to argue with him and fight about it. And I just said, hey, we're putting on some women's races this year, and it's going to be, a cool thing, and it might raise some feathers because it might seem like we're sending a very specific message. And he just said, we're in. We're going to do this. Let's make it happen. And the festival just grew from there.
Some of these abuse scandals are well known, are public. Unfortunately, many, many more are never reported. The statistics are not good. There are women in this room who have been through something that we don't know about. Sadly, tragically, it also means there are probably women in this room who will go through something. And what I want to say is that in this community, if you ever choose to come forward, if you ever choose to speak up, you will be heard, you will be believed, and you will never stand alone. Any action you take, no matter how small, is going to have impacts beyond what you know. And so I think that's important for us to remember. Because when it might seem like, going out and doing this obscure Scandinavian sport that most people in this country have never heard of might not make a difference, I think it will. We need to be kind to each other, and when one of us falls down, we need to be the inspiration for that person to get back up. Because this fight is far from over, and while it might not seem that way right now, it is far from lost.
Isolation is often a part of the abuse by predators. It's very purposeful to basically take you out of a safe environment and put you into an unsafe one. And one of those things is a mental isolation where you do come to believe that it is only happening to you. And that was the thing I really struggled with, especially because it was reinforced and told to me by some of my own teammates. That's something that I've had to work through for a very long time, of this, should I have done that, which is like speak out or file a complaint, and was this just a thing that I built up in my head? So I do not like to hear that this happened to other women. But at the same time, it makes me confident that it was the right choice to say something, because there are other people that this is and was happening to that probably felt the same.
The second article actually came out while I was competing in Europe. And I think it was challenging for me to like sort of have this like understanding of kind of like, you know, what had been happening and, you know, what would have been, you know, happening for a while. Problems within our organization that like I would really love to see fully addressed and handled really well, because I think it just is important for those of us that are then, you know, like competing, you know, to be able to say like, yeah, you know, like this is an organization that like, you know, even with flaws, like things have changed, and I can feel like, you know, like 100% like, you know, like this is something that like, you know, I'm really proud to be a part of.
So if those people did know, that makes them complicit. And if they didn't know, that makes them incompetent. Neither of those things are things that should have people in board positions or president positions. And you shouldn't be running an organization that has women and, you know, sexual abuse running rampant. And if you looked at the history of your federation and saw 30 years of that going on and didn't think that you wanted to make a major change, then you are complicit and you are part of the problem. So at least when I sleep at night, I can look at myself and know I did what I could. I don't know how they sleep at night. In a very not PG-13 way, I give less fucks now. I care very much less what people think. I do not care at all that my face is probably on a dartboard in the USBA office, and that they probably throw a lot of things at it. In fact, that makes me a little bit proud, because I think if you uncover a 30-year-old problem and they call you the 30-year-old problem, then you know you've done something right. I think it is very important to trust yourself and your gut feeling. If it feels like something's wrong, it is probably correct. And that runs true for like so many different circumstances. And I think that, you know, you get into these spaces, it could be workplaces, whatever it may be, and nobody else is saying something, nobody else has, you know, even mentioned anything, or everything seems like it's normal. But if something feels like it's not normal, you trust that feeling, even if everyone else is acting like it is. And if I go back and just tell myself to trust myself more, I think that would have been very helpful. Maybe.
The real part is that my own self back then is still me. Like, it stays with you. It's part of your experience. So how do you move forward with that? What's worked well for me is to, these bad things happen. You're going to run into, you know, whether it's, we've all had things happen. It shouldn't change who we are.
All of us here are major egg smashers here. But there's one in particular I think that really looked something horrible in the face and decided that she was going to do something brave, even though it probably really hurt her inside. And so the next Patriarchy Smash Award is for Joan Wilder.
That is the best thing. That's your check bag.
In the morning when it's done, I'll take my coffee and my gun, and I'll be there. Yeah, God, I swear. In the morning when it's done, when all will see the rising sun, well, I'll be there. Yeah, God, I swear. In the morning when the frost clings to your lips like a cigarette, well, I'll be there. Yeah, God, I swear.
This will be the lower bib number on the team, so bibs 1 through 14. There's a gap in there, that's why there's 13 teams. 1 through 14 will be the starters. They will go out and do a mini sprint. So you'll ski 1 lap and shoot prone, another lap and shoot standing, unless you're a small human, in which case you shoot prone both times. Then after your second shoot, 2, 1.
Holy crap, yes!
I think one thing I'd want Joanne to know that I don't know if I've ever said to her is that I'm really proud of her. Women face a lot and put a lot at risk when they come forward with these kind of things, and Joanne didn't have to do that. She not only did that, but decided that she had to help other women along the way. And I think that takes a lot of courage, a lot of selflessness, and she has that in abundance.
Go to tryouts, man. I hope she does, and I hope she does it with just because she loves it, and that she's got enough support there to do that again. If she chooses not to, that's all right. I don't want to put pressure on anybody, but there's just people who make a difference in the world. You'll come across them. She just seems to be one of those people that can do that.
So we went to this Masters Nationals event in Wisconsin. That was in February. That was kind of the first starter pack, if you will, like biathlon race. Kind of seeing how that felt, seeing can I still shoot without mental distress, having panic attacks, because those were coming for the later end of my career. From there, moving into U.S. National Championships in Bozeman. That'll be in a few weeks from right now in March. And if that goes well and that was fun, then I think from there I will kind of decide the trajectory of whether Milan Cortina is in my future.
I've learned a lot, and it's been healing and fun and enjoyable, and I'm very grateful for Drew for being that guy, that person who said, what can I do to make a difference?
Now, that concludes the 2025 Joanne Reid Women's Biathlon Festival. Thank you all so much for coming. For who was at dinner on Friday night? So we talked on Friday night a little bit about how can a group this small really make a difference? And I was thinking today, I was a little bit worried because we were down 14 people from what we had last year, and the energy was so good last year. And I was thinking, can we really have that same feel and have that same energy? And we brought it.
The women at this clinic have taught me that what we're all here for at the end of the day is love of playing outside and love of being with people who also like to play outside. It doesn't really matter what we're doing, and it doesn't really matter what we're learning. That is an experience that is awesome.
Given all that's happened and what I've gone through with this weekend with the Joanne Reid, will I ever participate and be part of the biathlon community going forward? It's funny, I haven't even asked myself that question until I got here, because the answer was pretty much no, a hard no for a long time, and that's running from pain. Because I certainly still love the sport. I love to ski, shooting's fun. I think I need more deep breaths. I think it's a time thing, and this is part of that process. And I hope it goes the way I hope that I made myself vulnerable and others have, so that we can all move forward and we can all participate if we want to and we choose to and feel safe.
Everybody say clean!
Clean! Now go crazy!
Albanese chocolate covered gummy bears, and this is very important to me because I've always loved chocolate covered gummy bears. This is probably my next social crusade. I would say it's like the second most important thing here. Yeah, the commercialization of chocolate covered gummy bears, especially in this economy.